Hey folks, Malforian here with another Grey Eminence dev diary, and this week we're going to be taking a look at geography and how it's going to work in the game. So as they say here, it's the fourth development diary for Grey Eminence. If you're new to the channel or new to the game, this is the fourth one, as it says. I have covered the previous one, so if you like the game or you like the channel, hit like, subscribe, do all that YouTube stuff. It would be much appreciated. But yeah, we're just going to take a look and see what they're going to talk about this week. So yeah, they're going to basically talk about terrain, and if you've played any grand strategy game or basically any strategy game, you've encountered a system like this. So there's 4 different parameters: terrain, climate, land size, and forest cover. Now forest cover, I have taken a quick read over this before I recorded the video. The forest cover bit looks kind of interesting, so we'll talk about that later. So obviously the first one they're going to cover here is terrain. That is the tile's topography and also its hydrological and elevation features. So all about, what kind of land is it, how much water it's got on it, and is it a mountain or is it a floodplain or something like that, which all looks like it affects the tile. Similar, if you played EU4 or CK3 or, to be honest, any, like I say, strategy game, you've encountered a system like this. The most common terrain types are plains, hills, and mountains. They are representations of how flat or not a tile is, and also will give you different effects. For example, plain tiles are easier to traverse and harder to defend. The opposite for mountain tiles. You get that mountain bonus for defending in elevated land. The high ground always wins. And that's going to be the same for this game. Peaks and plateaus are terrain types related to mountains, so you'll find them near mountain tiles. Peaks are tiles with such steep slopes they are impassable and cannot be traversed, whilst plateaus are more or less plains, but with some important differences we'll cover in a second. So we're going to talk about that later. Floodplains, floodplains always good for some agricultural bonuses and things like that. And wetlands, like swamps, marshes, and bogs, difficult to traverse, but can be drained into regular plains. So it looks like you can alter land. So maybe when you start, it is wetlands, but then you can drain it and make farmland out of it, which is a pretty cool system. You don't usually see that in grand strategy games that much, where you can make changes. I guess Civilization, you've always been able to do this, but in grand strategy games, how I think of them, I don't tend to see this system that much. Someone could probably correct me if I'm wrong, but you don't generally, I think, kind of see that kind of way you can alter the land itself. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see how that all works out. And then here we go, we've got a screenshot. It says it's hills terrain plus 10% effective distance. I don't know what that is yet. I don't think they've covered effective distance, how much it costs to move through it. Maybe a unit has a certain amount of move and effective distance slows them down. I'm guessing that's what it means. I'm not sure. I'm sure they'll talk about it later, but kind of what I'm thinking of. Construction materials plus 20%. So I don't know if that's you get more construction materials or it costs more. I imagine it means it costs more to build there. Obviously, forts are better because you're defending a hill, and agricultural efficiency minus 20. It's harder to farm hills than it is flat land, obviously. So, yeah, pretty cool tooltip. It looks like all these light blue bits are going to be nested tooltips. You can just hover over it, and it will tell you what it does, which is always fantastic to see in games. And then, yeah, we're going on to climate. The second property of land tiles is their climate. It represents the seasonal precipitation and temperature patterns, which have important implications for agriculture and weather. We've chosen a simplified version of the Köppen climate classification system. Now, if you read this on their website, there's actually a hyperlink there where you can read about the Köppen climate classification system. I'm not very familiar with it because I'm not a climatologist, so I'm just going to take their word that it's a good system to use. Like Köppen, probably butchering the pronunciation, to be honest. The various climates in Grey Eminence are grouped into 5 categories: tropical, dry, temperate, continental, and polar. So different climate systems affects how you can get agriculture and things like that. Another good system. Tropical climates are broken down into rainforest and savanna. Their average temperature above 18 degrees Celsius across all months, which means their theoretical growth season can encompass the entire year. Of course, in reality, these climates are prone to seasonal droughts, but their effects can alleviated via irrigation. So yeah, it mentions a growth season here. We'll see in the screenshot later. It looks like how you gather food and things like that are affected by tiles, and they're going to have seasons. So, a tile might give you food during 50% of the year, not 100% of the year. It looks like maybe if you're playing the game, it's going to be quite strategic. You're probably wanting to grab those really good land tiles so you can boost your economy and increase your population, because we will see in a screenshot down here. So we can see here, this is the population of the realm of whichever country this is, and they've got 3 million people. I think this is going to work similar to like a Victoria 2, Victoria 3 system, where you have to use your population to get the most efficiency out of your realm. But they haven't talked about that so far in the dev diaries, how population is going to affect things. So I imagine that'll be coming further down the road. Also here they talk about all the different other ones, so like arid, Mediterranean, continental highlands, boreal, tundra and polar. I won't read through all these. I'll leave a link to the dev diary down below if you want to take a look and see exactly how these work, but it's mostly just kind of describing to you how these seasons roughly affect the tiles and what you might see. I won't talk through them all, but you know, if you're super interested, you can read through. And then here we go. Yeah, the screenshots. There's 80% growing season plus 80% maximum growing season, and then has winter, spring, summer, autumn. So it looks like some tiles will only have like maybe summer and winter. Some deserts, you know, the Gobi Desert, something just has summer or something, so it doesn't affect things as much. We'll see. Is arable and grazable? Again, that looks like it's going to affect how much food. This tile's climate exhibits significant variations in temperature, but relatively moderate amounts of precipitation. It has hot summers and cold winters, yet nevertheless remains suitable for agriculture throughout most of the year. So kind of just explained to you, it's kind of like a general farmland tile by the looks of it. We're on to land size next. Perhaps the most obvious property of land tile is its surface area, which we call land size. This parameter is static for almost all tiles, and it's simply the surface area of the Earth divided by the number of tiles on the globe, which I think they said there was over 1 million or something in the game. In our case, this turns out to be 510 units per tile, with one unit being more or less 1 square kilometre. We won't go too much into detail here. You'll learn about this in the buildings dev diary, but in short, anything you want to build occupies a certain amount of space, so you can't build up a tile indefinitely. So it looks like this is changing from other games where you just have, say, like 3 slots, or if it's a large place, you might have 4 slots to build on. It looks like it's based on the tile itself. I imagine buildings will use, say, 50 units, and there's 510 units on a tile. So, you know, 10% of a tile. A little bit of a change from other grand strategy games, but it'd be interesting to see how this actually plays out, how you can min-max on tiles. You know, can you squeeze a lot of buildings, or for balancing, they might be able to quickly change maybe how big a building is on a tile or something like that. So again, a little bit of a change from most grand strategy. And I think this is the last one. Oh, there's a couple more to go. A forest cover is the number of units of land that are occupied by dense forests. The presence or absence of forests has important impacts on the tile. Unless roads have been built, it makes transportation and logistics difficult. It also prevents construction of buildings. So actually, no, yeah, this kind of explains a little bit more how this works. It looks like at the beginning of the game, there's going to be a lot more forests on a tile, and it isn't just going to be like, you know, this tile is a forest tile. It's going to be, this is a tile, 75% of it is covered in forests. If you want to use more than that, you can use deforestation to clear those forests off that tile, and then you'll have more space for buildings. It's not like Civilization. It's like this tile is a forest tile, and then you can deforest it, and then it's a plains tile. There's no in between. It looks like in Grey Eminence, you're going to be able to mix and match, basically. That's how it looks like it's going to work anyway. You can manually clear away forests to make room for more buildings, but you probably don't want to clear out every last tree. Maintaining some amount of forest cover allows you to construct logging camps, which produce woods in a sustainable fashion. Oh, so there you go. You can leave some forest, have a logging camp, and then it kind of renews and kind of keeps that amount of forest by the looks of it, but you do get production, I imagine, from the logging camp being there. And here we go, the screenshot about forest cover. Forest cover measures the land within a tile that is covered by dense forests. Forest cover prevents construction of most buildings, but is required for logging camps. It can be cleared away by enacting deforestation. So yeah, you can just clear away the whole forest, or you can clear away some of it and then use the remaining for logging camps. And I imagine that must give you production value or something like that towards other buildings or units, etc. I'm sure on the buildings dev diary in the future, we'll find out all about it. Arability and grazability. Combining a tile's terrain with its climate allows us to determine how suitable it is for agriculture and animal husbandry. In general, animals are a lot easier to please than crops. I mean, one's alive, the other one's technically not alive, I guess. So any tile that's suitable for crop harvesting will also be good enough to graze on. Note that each crop has its own unique preference for temperature and precipitation. Just because you can theoretically grow corn in Iceland doesn't mean you should. So it looks like these systems are going to work together in quite a complex manner. You're going to have the tile climate, the topography, And then, you know, if you want to grow crops, it looks like there's different crops. It's not just like you have farmland. It's talking about corn here. So do you grow corn in some places, wheat in another place? And the temperature and stuff like that is going to affect it. And as well with the length of the game, it's what, 800 years long. There was like mini ice ages and stuff like that. So I wonder if we will see like climate change affect the game. You know, will you see areas slowly change to another kind of land, and you have to edit your setup basically to follow those trends, or have starvation and stuff like that. It'd be interesting to see. Like I say about most things, most of this game looks interesting to see, but yeah, like I say, as we keep following the dev diaries, we'll find out. Weather. Beyond a single tile's terrain or climate, we have a broader system of weather that affects entire areas of the globe. This system is large enough to warrant its own dev diary. Fantastic, we love a good dev diary. But for now, we can confirm that it includes phenomena like seasons, storms, monsoons, hurricanes, and tornadoes. Obviously, you've got seasons, they mentioned that earlier, but hurricanes or tornadoes, so, you know, do you lose land? Do you get damaged buildings you've got to build back? Would it affect warfare? You know, if you can see an area that's been tornado ridden, can you then jump in and invade and take advantage of that situation? Rivers. We would be remiss to not mention how rivers figure in all of this. As many of you have speculated, in Grey Eminence, rivers flow along the edges of the hexagons. Thus, an important river segment will always form the border between two tiles. There are select few rivers that are wide enough in certain parts to be represented full-fledged water tiles, but the vast majority of rivers follow the hexagon border paradigm. So I imagine that's probably like the Nile or maybe some of the rivers in the Danube or something maybe will have full tiles, especially when they get closer to the sea. Like weather, we've planned a whole dev diary on how rivers work and how they interact with all our other systems. But just to sate your hunger, we can say that rivers will have not just your usual geographic and military impact, but also an economic one. As we mentioned previously, the economy of Grey Eminence is based on logistics. Rivers were the unquestionable cornerstone of commerce until the invention of the railroads. So your control of the waterways will be key. Ooh, interesting. So owning rivers within your borders is going to give you some kind of advantage over people that don't. So if you're landlocked, don't have rivers, are you going to have a disadvantage for trade? Makes sense, but it's cool to see that maybe where the game is heading. I mentioned this every dev diary. They always have a section at the end about modability, really showing you how, if you do want to mod the game, how it's going to work. I won't read through this. As I say every time, I'm not a modder myself, so it doesn't make a whole deal of sense to me. But if you do like modding, or you're just interested in how the game works, do read the modability bit. It is interesting, but they're just talking about how you can modify everything in the real-time terrain editor and how it affects everything else in the game. So yeah, and they have a nice GIF as always, and this is somebody literally just modding the terrain. It looks like this is basically just like having, you know, paint or MS Paint, and you can just pick a size, pick a type of terrain and just paint it on. As you can see here, just painting a lake in. You can also change it to forest cover if it's mountains, and just make a map really quick by the looks of it, which is awesome, because if you can have custom maps, I imagine you'll be able to export it and then people can play your map, which is always good. So there we go. That's the dev diary for today, all about geography. Hope you enjoyed it. As always, if you are interested in the game, if you follow the channel, I will be covering it till it comes out, and I'll leave a link to the dev diary and the store page in the description. And yeah, if the game looks like something you'd enjoy, give it a wish list, give it a follow. It does help game studios kind of gauge how interested people are in the game. So yeah, I'm going to leave it there for today. I'll see you in the next one.